Lord.
And we are live. Welcome to the Sales Slap.
To the Sales Slap podcast, where we hit you with the hard truths, bold strategies, and expert insights you need to master the art of selling. And who's leading the charge? Meet your hosts, Rick Denley, Simon Hares, and Scott Donald. Get ready for real talk, expert advice, and game-changing strategies. Because in sales, you don't just play, you slap. Let's dive in.
Yeah, let's dive in. Welcome to the Sales Slap with your co-hosts here, Rick Denley, Simon Hares, and Scott Donaldson. We've got an amazing guest on today. You see him here, but let me introduce him for you. In a world of empty suits, he's leading a movement of authenticity, integrity, and trust inside the sales profession. In his words, I envision a sales world where authenticity, integrity, and trust are brought to the forefront. With a servant mindset, he says you can expect him to bring his heart, spirit, extreme focus, and dedication, all supported by a deep understanding of what a day in the life of a sales professional is like. He mentions that he does this because he cares. He does this because it makes a difference. And he does this because he gives a rip about the sales profession. And I love that. He's a best-selling author of 2 books now, Selling from the Heart and Selling in a Post-Trust World. Thank you, Simon. We want to welcome to the show today, Larry Levine. Are you ready to refuel, restore, and reboot your sales results? Larry, welcome to the show.
Yay! It's so good to be. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time, gentlemen.
That's great.
We're
excited
forward
to it
too. In anticipation.
Yeah. Maybe it's a build up to this one, Larry. So thanks for being here.
Well, I hope I live up to it.
Well, you will by all means. Hey, just what's on your mind to start with? Kick things off, Larry.
I think the biggest thing is I just want to know. I just got to throw this back to y'all. How'd y'all come up with the Sales Slap podcast?
Well, let's tell you.
Of all the things,
Yeah.
I'm leading it off this way. Just inquiring minds want to know.
That's a great,
That's
a great question.
It is. Well, Rick covers. Scott and I cover sales. Rick, leadership, and people join us all together. So SLAP, sales, leadership, and people.
Very good.
So
Clever.
There is a reason behind the madness.
Clever, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is very
I just had.
I did it as well. It was mine, so I'll just take credit for that before we move on. But anyway, less about me, more about you. Come on, Larry.
Thanks for sending it back to us. But
Larry, tell us a little bit for those people who have been living on some other planet in another galaxy far, far away. Nice sort of Star Wars quote there. Tell us about you, Larry, and tell us about the whole Selling from the Heart movement.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
Come on.
I always tell people I'm just a guy. And I say this with all sincerity. I grew up in Southern California. I cut my teeth for more than multiple decades selling office technology in Los Angeles. Highly commoditized, very, very, very laggard in nature, very price driven. But what made me really stand out was the relationships I built, the trust that I built, and that I just cared about the other people. I wasn't the smartest person out there. There was people that would out-strategize me. They would outsell me, but I always said no one was going to out-care me. And that's what I brought to the forefront. And then 10 years ago, I had some things happen in my life, and, here I am having the time of my life because 10 years ago, somebody believed in me more than I believed in myself. That's my podcast partner, Daryl Amy, who kind of convinced me to bring this message to the forefront. And it all simply started with a podcast. And I'm a big believer in this. Everybody has something to say.
Yeah.
It's just they just have they just have to have the courage to say it. And that's really how this all started, was just the Selling from the Heart podcast 9 years ago really launched this whole movement we call Selling from the Heart. And there's believers out there, there's non-believers. That's okay. Yeah. But in the world that we live in today, whether you're in sales, whether you're in sales leadership, whether you're an executive president of a company, these are the things that's actually going to drive revenue, drive profit, drive extensive, meaningful relationships with your clients. And it's going to help grow your people. And that's what we call selling from the heart.
Yeah, I love it. Thanks, Larry. It's a fantastic intro for everybody here who doesn't know you, but I think everybody does know you. And we appreciate you being here today. I want to dovetail on that a little bit with you because right now in leadership, we do talk about empathy. We talk about authenticity, and these things really matter now when, at the end of the day, companies and individual salespeople are still driving numbers, which is important, but they're doing it in a different fashion. And you just mentioned it there. You once said, the best leaders are the ones who bring their heart to the forefront. They care deeply, listen intently, and act authentically. I'll get it. You said it better than me. Tell me a little bit more about that, especially from a leader's standpoint. Why is that important from sales leaders?
It's interesting that you asked this question because, and I'm gonna use besides Selling from the Heart podcast, we just launched in the beginning of the year Culture from the Heart podcast, and just this past week we were just blessed to have Patrick Lencioni on our podcast. And it's somebody I've looked up to for a very long time. I've read a lot of his books, but what was really interesting is he got to the heart of what matters, and it's no play on Selling from the Heart or Culture from the Heart. He goes, as a leader, you must connect to the hearts of your people. And he played on something. He said it's not culture from the mind, it's culture from the heart. And I really believe this at a leadership level, at an executive level, you have to get to the heart of your people. And I've always said, if you want your people to run through brick walls for you, you have to understand what's going on inside here, which is their heart. Because they can tell you all these glorious, wonderful things. If you don't get to the heart, if you don't get to what they're deeply thinking about and what they're concerned about, you're missing a boat as a leader. And leaders can say all these nice, wonderful things. And I'm not here to disrespect any leaders out there, none whatsoever. But there's something I just want to get out in the open. As a leader, does your walk match your talk? Are you saying all these nice things? And then what's the talk behind the scenes? And, it's difficult because in this world where we're just pushing numbers and we're pushing numbers, I get it, right? Numbers play a part. But if you want to grow those numbers exponentially, you have to understand what's going inside the minds and the hearts of your people. That's how I believe you'll drive revenue and profit.
Brilliant.
You have to be willing to ask. And truly ask.
Well, getting to know your people is really important. For years, people have been saying, if you treat your staff and people like your customers, then guess what happens to the way they treat their actual customers? And getting to know your people is really important. People spend, I was talking to someone today, they spend thousands of pounds on all sorts of different profiling tools to understand their customers. And then they do it sometimes to understand their people, but that's all they do. They don't actually do anything with it. It's just a nice bit of pop psychology that feels like it's dating. And if you truly take the time to understand the people that you've got, then ultimately that's going to drive your culture and drive the behaviors within your business that you want to see.
Hey, what's interesting, and I've always said this, is that it's just a play on this, is do you really know your people? Or how well do you really know your people? And the key word in here is really. And the reason why I bring this up is since we're talking about leaders, and basically this could apply to salespeople, this could apply to leaders, could apply to executives, is what are the goals, the dreams, the aspirations, the vision of your people? Do you really understand that? There's a difference because a lot of people keep this at the surface level. Totally understand. That's our prerogative. But if you really want to move the needle, what are the goals of your people? Where do they see themselves 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now? What's their vision? What do they really want to accomplish? Why are they even working at your place of employment? What drives them? What excites them? What's their passion? Why do they get up in the morning and walk into the door of your office, whether that's literally opening the door, that virtual door? We as leaders, we have to understand this. And I think leaders they have the opportunity like none other to really get to know their people.
Yeah, relationships. I understand. Now, Larry, does that go the same way for salespeople and the clients that we're dealing with as well?
Oh, Amen on that. And I've always shared this. When I'm coaching salespeople, I'll ask them this. And I'll ask this to your audience. So everyone out there that's listening, here's what I want you to think about. I want you to think of your best client. However y'all define it, totally up to you. But I want you to think of your best client. That being the one that if you're having a bad day, you can pick up the phone, they'll put a smile on your face, or you can walk in their door, or you can send them an email or shoot them a text. Now, here's what I want you to think about. And it plays on what Rick was saying. This is your best client, the one that if they went elsewhere, it's going to hurt and it's going to cause you sleepless nights. Here's the question. Do you know the goals, initiatives, and challenges of your best client over the next 90 days? What's their vision at an executive level, mid-level management? What are they really working towards? What do they need to remove off their business plate? And I'm going to submit to everybody right now, that's many in sales mirror moment. How many of us, and this is your best client, how many of us can really say, I truly understand what they're working on now? What are their goals, dreams, aspirations, and what do they need to remove off their business plate? Now, I want everyone to reflect on this because it's fair to say a vast majority of salespeople cannot answer that question.
But they would be able to tell you exactly what type of corporate hospitality they like and what they do on the weekends. They'd be able to tell you all that stuff that they think really, really matters, which it does to a degree.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, but when it comes to the business side, so many salespeople believe that if you are asking those questions, there is an assumption that the person is going to know. And if they don't know, we don't know how to move forward. But there's also this assumption that actually, I feel nosy. That's uncomfortable to ask those questions. And it's nonsense. You should be asking those questions. And if they don't know the answer to the question, help them discover what it should look like.
Oh, so true. And this is, and it's interesting that we're having this conversation because there's two legs of the trust formula that I talk about in selling in a post-trust world. And it's building authentic relationships and bringing meaningful value. And here's the conundrum. And I know there's a lot of highly relational sellers that are out there. Totally get it, because if you ask salespeople if relationships are important, of course, they're all going to say yes. But here's what I want us to think about. When you're a high relational seller, you get caught in what I call the likability zone and the friendship zone. And why am I saying this? Because we're so concerned about being liked and being friends with people, because in the back of our heads, we know the negative perception of salespeople. So we lean into this. I want to be liked. I want to be friends. Hey, I want to be liked and I want to be friends with people. However, I have to bring meaningful business value to my clients, my future clients. I got to bring them insight. I got to bring them ideas. I have to ask them questions that gets them to think. I got to educate them. And if I don't, somebody else will. Mm-hmm. And if I don't do this, I'm going to have an inconsistent sales pipeline.
Of course. And also the meaningful value aspect, Larry, answers the question, well, what happens in the relationship when we get to know people? What about those people that don't want to get to know me personally? What about those people that don't want to be friendly, that are all business? That's where the meaningful value side of your equation comes in really well, because what's going to come across is not only the value you bring, but they're going to get that authentic experience that you also talk about, which is really important.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting is it's okay, right? It's okay if all they want to talk about is business and all that, but guess what? In a certain point in time, it's imperative you as a sales professional bring the human part of this out. They do have a personal life. They may be all business up front. That's totally okay, right? Yeah. But I've always said this, the more business that you can get out in the open, the more business that you can talk about up front, it leads to more personal talk on the back end of this.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I'm going to jump in because I love this. I love the idea about being a good human and how important that is to being a good leader and being a good salesperson. And I think for me, being a good human is how I would interpret, selling from the heart. But I think what you're saying is that it's about selling. It's about being a good human, but with a plan. And it seems like there's a tendency to either focus so much on being likable or so much on the plan, but it really is the combination of those. And this I think leads to the question that I have. So I was scrolling through some of your LinkedIn stuff earlier. I see it anyway, but I wanted to come up with a coherent question. So you talk about showing up for clients. You talk about trust, authenticity, being value driven. And I know this is going to seem like an obvious question, but why is this so important today in sales? Maybe more so than ever before. Why is this authenticity, value driven, trust aspect of selling so critical for success?
Yeah, great question. It's always been around. That's what's interesting. So I started my sales career in the late 80s, so I just dated myself. But it was alive and well then. It should be alive and well now.
Yes.
I think the issue stands behind, and I'm going to poke the bear on this.
Good.
Is all the technology, all the automation, yes, even all the AI, all of this stuff is wonderful. But I think what's happened in sales, I'm making a blanket statement on this, we've just become lazy as salespeople. And we haven't leaned into the fact that it's me having a conversation with Scott. It's me having a conversation with Rick. It's me having a conversation with Simon. It's really interesting. I've always shared this, and I share this when I'm out traveling and working with companies, is always asking this: are you in the people business? And are you in the relationship building business? And 100% of the time they say yes. I said, then here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing to build the people skills and relationship building skills of your salespeople at an executive level? And you as salespeople, what are you doing to build the people skills and relationship building skills of you as a professional? Why am I saying this? Relationships are messy. Humans are messy. That's just the nature of what we have to deal with. But authenticity, it's a lifestyle. It's not a light switch, right? We're all authentic human beings. And I'm not bringing PhD level stuff to any of this. It's just common sense stuff.
It is, and it's. I think, and I don't want to dismiss the message because I think it's so powerful. But I read both your books. They're right there.
Thank you.
And I get the message, but part of what I'm taken with is this idea that, and I'm going to be the first to swear today, and not Simon. But it's like, holy shit! Why is this message even have to be told? Like, why do we even have to push the idea that we need to be good humans, we need to be authentic, we need to be trust? Like, I'm glad that you're shouting this message from the rooftop with your platform, but it's crazy that there are so many organizations that are like, I guess we should do more of this human-centered stuff. And so I think coming from someone like you, I think it really has a lot of bear to this and a lot of impact. But I'm still taken aback by the fact that we're at a point in time, and you're right, technology and AI and the focus on numbers has slid us away from being good humans with a plan to help people solve the problems.
Yeah, this is what's interesting about all of this is I love putting salespeople and sales leaders in very uncomfortable positions and challenging them. I do it because I care. And I say, hey, listen, here's what I want you to do. You may or may not believe me. That's okay. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to go face to face. Or if you can't go face to face, you got to look at somebody on the screen. You can't do this over the phone. You just can't do it. I want you to ask your clients questions around what do they expect from salespeople? What words would they use when they come across a really good sales professional? What's trust look like to you? What's a trust-based business relationship look like to you? And the reason why I'm going down this road is you can get a crash course education as a salesperson by asking these questions. It's not what Larry Levine has to say about what trust is, or Rick, or Simon, or Scott.
Oh, it is what Scott says, by the way.
It's all good, but I think salespeople are missing the boat on this, and so are sales leaders. You got to be willing to ask these type of questions to your clients. In fact, when clients engage with me, that's one of the first things I have them do as an action item. Take one of your best clients and go face to face and ask them, What's trust mean to you? What's authenticity mean to you? How do you know you're in a trusted business relationship? What words would you use
Yeah.
when it comes to trust? And here's what happens 9 times out of 10 when they come back and share it with me. First thing somebody says, nobody has ever asked me these questions before.
Interesting,
And
isn't it?
I go, you're kidding me, right? No
Yeah.
one's asked. And I'm like going, they're giving you the roadmap in how to engage them, how to build trust with them, how to bring meaningful value to them. And you have just now crossed that zone that I call trust even more. Because it's not what I think trust is. It's not what I think authenticity is. It's what my clients believe it to be. And I'm just going to serve it up on a gold platter to them and feed them exactly what they tell me.
It's interesting because when you talk to salespeople and you ask them that question around themselves and say, so what does a trust-based business look like? They will often bring in things like, we're actually going to do what we say we're going to do, and we're not going to let people down, and we are going to deliver. But there are times when we don't do that, and we have no control over that. So therefore, it's not our problem. It's the manager's problem to deal with it. It's nothing to do with us, and we have no control over that. And it makes me stressed to think about it. And when I get stressed, that affects my mental health. So I'm not going to deal with any of that. And all of these things that these salespeople are suddenly flagging up, you suddenly realize, actually, are there processes then that are in the way that are stopping a trust-based business from happening? So if you can say to a client, what is it? We need to understand their processes as well. We say about leaders getting to know their people. Craig is on, as he always is. Hello, Craig. And you're
Hello,
saying
Craig.
no one cares how much you know as a leader until they know how much you care. And this is a great thing because you have to get to know people. And one of the processes that stops us from getting to know people are annual appraisals and annual performance reviews. Those things do not get you to know your business and to get you to know your people. Those are things that are tick box exercises that just serve HR. That's all they are.
Once a year.
Yeah. I mean, how many other things, as Patty McCord says, how many other things do you do once a year that you're actually any good at? Wrapping Christmas presents? Go figure. When we start to think about these things that salespeople should be doing, and Larry, you know I love your quote.
Thank you.
Is that salespeople today have hypnotized themselves into believing that what they're not doing doesn't work.
Right.
And this is the key. They're not doing it. And we've got all these societal things which are coming in, mental health, stress, processes, all these things. And yet the leaders at the top of the business would proudly pound their chest and say, our business is amazing, trusted, read our reviews. But actually at the core, there's something else that's missing. So Larry, when you say, what does this look like? What does a trust-based business look like? What does a trusted person sales like? No one's asking those questions, so they don't know. So they don't know how to improve. So if you're going to go back to what you said about your goals, your dreams and aspirations, well, what does that mean? What are we talking about here? Because we need to be able to understand what that means to the salesperson. And if they don't know, we need to train them in those fundamentals as well.
And then Simon, that leader in that case, is doing what Larry mentioned, which is walking the talk. And if you're doing that as a leader, then they're going to see the effect that it has on them and hopefully use that towards their client base as well. The way that they get treated, they'll treat others. Because as Larry mentioned, we have to go through the process. Everybody does. Before anybody buys from anybody else, we have to be able to gain the know, the like, and then the trust. And those 3 steps, and you can't skip any of them. And you have to get to the trust factor before anybody will purchase.
Well, just to add one final thing. How many times have we seen on LinkedIn and from sales experts that when clients engage salespeople to talk to them about their products and services, they're about 70% through the decision-making process.
Yep.
And what's going to get the salesperson over the line? The relationship that they build with the client.
Yeah.
And it's that bit that's going to get them over the line. They're 75% there before they've even walked through the door. They've only
Why
got
is that?
25%. because clients are intelligent and they can do a lot of research. They do all their research. They've got the internet and magic window as well, which is another thing as to why salespeople always start presentations with, let us tell you a little bit about us. They already know.
And they don't care.
They don't care. So when we think about the culture of the business that we work in, do you work in that culture that does all those things? Larry, your book, Selling in a Post-Trust World, and also, your Culture from the Heart podcast talks about these things so well. What would be the things, Larry, that you would say you have learned as new things about culture since the Culture from the Heart podcast? What are those things you've learned?
Oh, wow. It's almost every week when we have conversations with CEOs and presidents, that's all we're doing. It's just CEOs and presidents of companies who are heart-centered, who I say are doing things the right way. It's so interesting because the first couple things that come out is they're leaning into their people. Yeah. And I'd say over half of them use the word, I love my people. We use love inside our company. We're transparent. We're vulnerable. We're having the tough questions. We've even had a CEO and a president on our podcast that talks about they have an open book philosophy. The whole company gets together on a weekly basis. They open up the books. They're massively transparent with their P&L. They share everything all the way down with the exception of what people make. And there's a point behind this is we use these words, love, transparency, authenticity, care, compassion. Are they just words we're using as leaders, or are these congruent words we're using? And what I'm finding out in the CEOs and presidents who really get it, they walk the walk and the talk matches the walk. They're congruent. They actually truly love their people. Now I'm going to spin this, and I'm going to spin what I just said, and I'm going to spin it to salespeople. Do you truly love your clients? Do you care for them? Are you compassionate for them? Do you care about them? I mean, really, truly care. Because here's what I do know. I can't scientifically prove it, but I do know this. There's a sixth sense that people have. And that sixth sense is called BS. And they can sense this stuff, right? They can truly sense if the words you're using match, and they can tell this way. And this isn't rocket science stuff here. They can tell this way by your tonality, by your eye movement, by your body language. Are you leaning in or are you leaning out? They could tell all of this. Yeah. Now, salespeople, key in on that because people are paying attention to you. Leaders, key into that because your employees are paying attention to you on that.
Yeah, I love the concept of the BS radar. And I'll add to that because I feel like, and you hit on this earlier, Larry, that with technology and with AI, we're seeing a bit of a shift away from authenticity and trust, and there's a bit of a blurring. And I think people's BS radars are on high, and I think that's why it's really important for us to be comfortable in our own skin. And I would add, and maybe this is I didn't have this as a question, but is it been your experience that when you are being real and authentic and walking the talk, do you feel like it gives those around you a green light to maybe drop their mask and be themselves more? And I'm wondering whether that's Larry Levine's experience or whether that's, senior leaders in a company walking the talk. How does that give a green light to the people around them to say, okay, I can drop my guard, I can drop my mask, I can be myself now?
Oh, it's so good. I agree with what you said wholeheartedly, but I've been the one that's always gone first.
Yeah.
I've always been the one that's gone first. And, I'm going to say something, but I'm going to put some boundaries around it. I'm not going to
we're not good with boundaries here.
Larry.
We're not good with boundaries.
It'd be a first for somebody on this show, but go ahead.
On the Sales Slap podcast, Larry, we don't do boundaries.
Okay. Well, oh boy. Okay. No, but no, seriously though, is because some people are uncomfortable with this, and I totally get it. But I've always said, if you want somebody to open up, now I'm going to use the word comfortable. So maybe we'll just change the context around this. And I've shared this when I was out my sales career. In fact, I'm still in sales, but when I was, flip the script, when I was selling office technology, I'd always say this: the more comfortable I made somebody feel about me, the more comfortable they'd become. The more
Yes.
comfortable they become about me, the more they start opening up about their
Yep.
business secrets and things that are going on with them personally. But I was the one that had to go first.
Yeah.
And I just share little snippets, right? And that's why I said, I could air quote and air quote around boundaries, but you're not going to go deep down and say, gosh, I'm having marital problems or all of that. No, you're not going to go there, but you can share a little piece of your heart with somebody. And here's how people can do this. And there's going to be a lot of people that are uncomfortable with this, totally get it. But the only way you're going to do this is you got to look inward. It took me a long time to figure this out. But the more I went inward and the more I opened up the cupboard, right? We'll use the kitchen cupboard as an analogy. The more I opened up the cupboard of who I was, the more I discovered myself, and I just wanted to share it with other people.
Yeah.
Because I think the things that are really missing today, especially in sales and leadership, are the words connect and relate. I think it's a lot of disconnection and a lot of unrelating. But I know the faster I can connect and relate to somebody, the faster they're going to open up, which goes back to this: is everyone has a secret sauce. Everybody internally's got a secret sauce. It's just that we got to go out and search for it. We got to understand what it is that makes us tick.
And how do we get to that, Larry? How do we get to that secret sauce of people?
You got to be willing. And again, I learned this through coaches and mentors, bringing faith into this, and then just being able to say, I'm just sick and tired of who I am, and I'm just going to be transparent, right? I've learned more about myself. I'm 60 years old. I've learned more about myself the last 10 years of my life than I did in my 20s, 30s, and 40s combined, because I was at that age in my career where I wanted to find out. And it just so happened, bringing Selling from the Heart to the forefront, I learned more about myself writing Selling from the Heart than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I want leaders and salespeople to key in on this. Sales is tough. Leadership is tough. The microscope's always on you. The light's always on you.
Yeah.
And in order to have all this outer level success, however you all want to define the outer levels of success, if you want to have even more, you got to shine the light on yourself and look inward. And there's not a day that goes by, 7 days a week, I'm not spending time every single morning working on me, asking the tough questions, self-reflecting, thinking, jotting things down, reading faith, reading inspiration. Because I've always said this: it's hard to inspire others if you can't inspire yourself.
Yeah, and by doing so, you're giving permission, aren't you? You're giving permission to others to do the same.
100%. I want to think about this at a leadership level for a moment.
Yeah.
Because the best leaders I know, the ones that I look up to personally, they do some things better than anybody else. They inspire, influence, and impact. Those 3 I's. So here's what I want us to think about. If I'm a leader, how am I inspiring myself? How am I impacting myself? How am I influencing myself? Which means I got to work on myself, because I can't do that with my employees if my tank's empty. Now, as salespeople, you can't inspire, you can't breathe life into your clients if you're not breathing life into yourself. You can't influence and impact others if you're not doing it for yourself. And it's going to come across. It's going to come across really fast. If y'all don't believe me, then wait for it, because it's going to happen to all of us.
It's interesting. I know you love equations, Larry. But when you're inspire, influence, and impact, I guess the output of that is self-innovation.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because you are innovating the way you think about yourself, the way you see yourself. And that level of self-awareness is then only going to build more trust and better relationships. Craig has said the best people that I have worked with have a high level of self-awareness.
Yeah.
And I suppose because it is one of the components of emotional intelligence, then it does play such a big role. And often I think emotional intelligence is very, people talk about it a lot, but we often find that people don't really know what it is. They just think it's about being nice to people.
Yeah.
As much as we train and get better ourselves at product knowledge, industry knowledge, and such, we have to, as Larry said, work on ourselves internally and get better. And when we look at EI and EQ, these are things that we can control and improve over time. And that helps in all the areas that we've spoken about today, especially in relationship building, which is so important to us.
Until somebody can prove me wrong on this, and I'm waiting for the day, but I don't think it's going to happen, is we're responsible. This might be tough for some people to just wrap their minds around, but I say this with all sincerity. We are responsible for how we show up.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not the CEO's responsibility. It's not the president's responsibility of your company. Right. It's not the sales leader. It's not the sales manager. This is aimed right now at salespeople. You are 100% responsible for how you show up. And are you showing up as somebody who cares, gives a rip, shining the light on others? Are you breathing life into people? What's really interesting is, and Simon and Rick, you've both been on the Selling from the Heart podcast. We just have some of the coolest thought leaders, influential people out there. And earlier this year, we had just the honor to interview Stephen M. R. Covey on the Selling from the Heart podcast.
Yeah.
And, talk about a legend, right? His father was a legend, Stephen Covey. Yeah. And Stephen M. R. Covey wrote a great book, Trust and Inspire. Mm-hmm. And it just so aligns to Selling from the Heart. And we just had a blast on the podcast. But he said what's missing today. Now, this is hyper focused in the business world. What's missing today is inspiration. Mm-hmm. We want to think about, how do we motivate people? Well, motivation's short term. That's the dopamine rush. You might move the needle a couple inches with some motivation. But your top salespeople, they've heard it all, right? You can't carrot and stick top sales professionals. At least I don't think so. No. But what you can do is you can inspire your top salespeople. So here's my challenge right now to sales leaders, executives, and presidents out there. You have to unpack how to inspire your people. What makes your people tick? What are they capable of? And when you can find out those two things, watch what happens. Yeah. Right? It's not this comp motivation, and it's not all the wonderful things in your office, though that's probably nice to some. Internally, how can you inspire your people and your top salespeople to see and achieve things they don't think they can do on their own? What's going on inside? What's the head trash going on inside your salespeople's heads right now that everybody has?
That's a great challenge.
It is.
And see, that's the opportunity. With conviction, I can look a CEO in the eye right now. Any of them, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And say, do you understand what makes your people tick and what are they truly capable of? Yeah. And by the way, how much money are they living on the business table because you don't understand what makes them tick and what are they capable of?
How many of those people can answer that question, Larry?
0.
So how many of those same people, Larry, how many of those same people can tell you exactly what's wrong with their people?
Oh, they could tell you exactly what's wrong with them on a
there we are, you see?
Simon, on a surface level, they can tell you based on observation. 9 times out of 10, they make all their assumptions based on where the salespeople sit on stack rankings. What are they sold? What are they not selling? Things like that. It's all these. Yeah, I call them. It's all these trailing indicators that CEOs and presidents are forming their opinions of. But here's what I do know. Because I've asked and we're running the analytics on it. There's not many CEOs and presidents that understand the leading indicators that get to the trailing indicators of why are my people doing what they're doing. Yeah. And when you can unpack all of this, That's where you truly start moving the revenue and profit needle.
Yeah, I love that. That's very important that people look at leading indicators, not the lagging KPIs all the time, and then get to the root of what those are and how you impact them as a leader.
I gotta share a quick story. This is just the opportunity that leaders have, whether these are mid-level leaders or whether these are upper level leaders. So this is about 3.5, 4 weeks ago. I'm out on travel working with a client for a week, and I was out riding with a mid-level manager. And we had the opportunity to then meet with one of his top sellers. And this guy's on the twilight of his sales career. I mean, on the window's just about closed, right? And but in a very good way. Guy's had a great career, but the window's just about shut on his career. And he was telling me all these things that he knew about his salesperson and all of that. So we're sitting there at the table and we're all chit-chatting, getting to know each other. Mid-level manager had his phone rang and someone was blowing up his phone. He says, "Hey, excuse me, I gotta go take this call." Now it's me with this well-tenured, very well-compensated salesperson, the top of his career, top of his game. And I've just met this guy. It's been 5 minutes. I insert his name, right? And we just start just BSing. And I said, "Hey, I got a question for you. I know at this stage of your career, you're not motivated by money. You're not motivated by compensation tweaks and things like that because you're already making really good money. Is that fair to say?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "What really motivates you? What lights your fire? What brings you passion at this stage of your career?" He goes, "Mentoring, guiding, and helping young, inexperienced salespeople
Nice.
level up their game to help them get to where they want to be."
Yeah.
And I said, "Spot on, dude." Upon which I asked, "Has your manager asked you that question?" Upon which, what do you think he said?
All the time, every day.
Absolutely not.
No, no. There's a point behind this very
Yeah.
condensed story. If you're a mid-level manager, if you do not understand what brings your salespeople to life, do it right now. Do it right now. Understand what makes these people tick and what are they capable of. Why am I challenging them with all of this? Because if you grow your people, you grow yourself. If you don't grow your people, that has a direct impact to what you put in your pocket, which is money.
Wow. Absolute win-win.
What a great final story. Absolutely
Larry,
brilliant.
thank you. It's been incredible. Selling from the Heart with Larry Levine. Larry, where can people get a hold of you, your materials, your knowledge, and your books?
You could, very easy. You can just go to sellingfromtheheart.net. You can find out everything you want to find out about what we're doing, the podcasts. You could grab the books at sellingfromtheheart.net/books.
Absolutely
Nice.
incredible. Thank you. That's great. In a world full of empty suits, the real leaders are those who show up with substance, sincerity, and service, just as you have today, Larry. We want to thank you for being on the show.
Oh, it's
Thank you,
my
Larry.
pleasure. It's so good to hang out with you guys.
So
Thank
a
you,
couple things really quickly. So one, I am super impressed about how succinctly and knowledgeably and passionately you speak about this. So Simon, thanks for recommending Larry. He turned out pretty good. That worked out well. I also have to tell you that whenever I hear Selling from the Heart, I go to Taylor Dane's song, Tell It to My Heart, and I can't get the song out of my head.
I love it.
Someone's showing their age. The rest of the people on LinkedIn are now going, who the hell is that?
1988, Taylor
I know
Dane,
the
Tell It to My
song.
Heart. I know it's probably your favorite. And then Rick always asks, our next guest on August 1st is Paul Caffrey.
Paul's, I
Paul
love that. Paul
Caffrey.
Caffrey.
So
Very cool. Very cool.
The work behind the work, gentlemen.
see,
Yeah.
That's what you get with Paul Caffrey.
we just keep
All the-
knocking it out of the park with great guests.
There
Yeah.
you go.
And also he'll deliver it with an amazing Irish accent. So it's
Oh,
worth
there you
it.
go.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? As Craig said here, this has been a great session.
Thank
and
you,
we
Craig.
really
Thanks, Craig.
appreciate Larry,
Craig.
you being on today. And I know everybody's going to reach out to you for further information. And thanks very much. We wish all of our viewers a safe and excellent weekend. And welcome and thanks for being on the Sales Slap. podcast.
And
Thank you for attending the Sales Slap podcast. Feel free to reach out to your hosts, Rick, Simon, and Scott, and our guests from this episode for more information. We look forward to seeing you next time.